This Invicta Pro Diver has been around for quite some time now, so is it getting past its shelf life, so to speak, and not worthy of our attention anymore, or is it actually more relevant now than before? Well, in this video we'll try to find out. Hello and welcome to the channel. With the watch prices slowly creeping up pretty much in all price segments and on all the selling platforms like eBay, Amazon and AliExpress, this 40mm Invicta Submariner Homage finally caught my eye. Not that I haven't seen it before, of course I did, but one thing that was different this time was the price of this watch. That is, the price was still the same as it was a few years ago, and we still can find this Invicta online all day long for anything between 80 and 100 US dollars. I think JOMASHOP has one of the sharpest prices for this watch, and I will of course leave link in the description if you want to check it out. As a matter of fact, JOMASHOP has a number of colorways, sizes and bezel style variations to choose from. For full disclosure, those are affiliate links. I went for a classic 40mm automatic version with the original bezel. That is, by the way, I think what OB stands for in the model number of this watch. So let's review the specifications of this watch, do a few wrist shots and see if we can come to some conclusion, which personally, not being a big fan of Invicta watches in the past, might take me slightly out of my comfort zone. Packaging. Well, as we can see, while most Homage brands focus on the look and the design of the watch, with Invicta it looks like the homaging, so to speak, starts with the packaging. If this box was of a green color and a bit wider, it would definitely look like something else. I will let your imagination do the work. Well, the packaging itself is actually pretty decent, as we would expect from an established brand like Invicta. Robust and well-cushioned box, warranty cards, user manual and a pretty well-wrapped watch. Dimensions. Well, the case measures just over 40mm in diameter and we have 20mm lugs. The case height is about 14mm, which is a bit on the high side, but still should be okay if we want to wear this watch under the cuff. Lug tip to lug tip is under 48mm, and due to the inverted end links, the end link to end link distance is actually close to 47mm, which makes this watch suitable even for a considerably slimmer wrists. I will do some more shots on my about 7-inch wrist later in this video. The supply stainless steel bracelet tapers down to about 18mm at the clasp, and we have a 19.5mm wide pressed clasp here with the security lock. The full-length bracelet should comfortably cover about 8¼ inch wrist or about 21cm. On a fully supplied stainless steel bracelet, this watch weighs about 155 grams, which is quite a good weight for this type of watch. Dial. Okay, obviously no prizes for originality here, however the execution is very good. Well, almost. I will get to it in a moment. So the writing at 6 o'clock is okay in my opinion. 4 lines of text, which might seem a bit too much, but the printing is done in a small and somewhat grey silvery color, making the overall print somewhat subdued. The dial background is piano black, we have a printed minute chaptering and applied hour indices. The logo and the brand name at 12 o'clock are applied, which is nice and gives the dial a bit of a premium look. We also have a nicely done hands with a familiar Mercedes hour hand and a lollipop second hand. I like the hands lengths, both minute and second hand stretch almost to the edge of the minute chaptering. We of course have an Invicta logo as a counterbalance on the second hand, which is also a nice touch in my opinion. Okay, it might not be to everyone's taste, however other brands do this as well, like Tissot for example. The date cutout at 3 o'clock is nice and clean, and there is a cyclop and a crystal in the style of the watch that this one is paying homage to. The cyclop magnification is not 2.5 times as we would expect, but rather about 2 times. Still, the date is crisp and quite legible. There is no quality control issues on the dial, well, nothing that I can spot with the naked eye anyway. So the whole dial gives an impression of quality and attention to detail, which is good and generally impressive because this is a well under $100 watch. However, there is one thing that I think should have been done better on a watch that has a word professional in its name, and it is lume. Okay, there is some lume, which is okay, and most of it is on hands, which is also positive. However, it is somewhat inconsistent on the indices and doesn't last too long. We have a flat mineral glass here, or what Invicta calls flame fusion type glass. It sits just ever so slightly above the bezel, and I couldn't find any mentioning of AR coating. However, the watch has pretty good legibility under various viewing angles anyway. Bezel. We have 120 clicks unidirectional bezel here with the lumed peep at 12 o'clock, and the bezel insert is aluminium. It does look good and is very legible. However, being an aluminium insert, it will most likely scratch over time. Of course, to some degree, scratches do add certain character and personality to the watch, and we have some considerably more expensive timepieces like Tudor Black Bay 58, for example, that use aluminium inserts. However, still something to keep in mind. One thing I must say, I was pleasantly surprised by the good bezel action on this watch. There is very little side or back play for that matter, the clicks are crisp and the resistance is good and consistent. The bezel grip outer ring is polished and that makes it a bit slippery. However, it is not a major inconvenience, and as the bezel breaks in over time, it should become easier to rotate while still maintaining a good resistance. And it is worth mentioning the bezel on my watch aligns pretty much perfectly with the indices on the dial. Moving on to the case, we have brushed top of the case and polished flanks. The overall finishing of the case is pretty good. There is a good attention to detail, transition between the facets are also well finished, giving the watch well-polished all-around feel. The same as on the dial, we don't have a shortage of reminders that you are proud owner of the Invicta watch. We have Invicta logo on the screw-down crown and the brand name engraving on the side of the case. I know that engraving on the case is not to everyone's taste. Personally, I don't have any issues with this, and there are a few other premium brands that also do case engravings. As I just mentioned, this Invicta has a screw-down side crown, the thread is smooth and crown is easy to operate. We also have a screw-on exhibition back case. Invicta declares 200 meters of water resistance on this watch, which means we can swim in this watch and possibly even do some recreational diving, making this watch very practical indeed. Movement. We can see Seiko Instruments and H35 automatic movement that Invicta used in this watch. Invicta decorated the rotor, and in my opinion, compared to somewhat utilitarian and boring look of the stock Seiko and H35 rotor, this Invicta rotor looks more aesthetically pleasing. Now, the NH35 movement is of course tried and tested movement that powers thousands, if not millions of watches around the world. It hacks, that is, the second hand does stop when we adjust the time. We can also hand wind this watch, and it has of course a date complication. This movement beats at 21,600 vibrations per hour, and it has a power reserve of 41 hours. This is a proven, reliable and dependable movement with pretty good accuracy. Bracelet. Well, we have inverted female type endlinks, which is good, allows for a comfortable fit even on a slimmer wrist. However, as we can see, the endlinks are hollow, which is not ideal, and I would personally prefer to see solid endlinks here. The rest of the links are solid with brushed outer and polished inner links, and the sides of the links are also mirror polished. I must say, the overall finishing of the bracelet is very decent. The links are secured with pins, which is okay at this price point. We have a fully functional and pretty robust signed clasp here with a secure lock. It is only a pressed clasp, which I guess I can overlook at this price point too. To be fair, the clasp has a slim profile and does have 4 macro adjustments, which will allow us to accurately adjust the bracelet, which is of course also a positive. So this watch has been available for the last few years, so why are we looking at it now? Well, yes, there are a number of cost-cutting measures that Invicta employs here, but then none of them are new, like aluminum bezel insert, hollow endlinks, pressed clasp, and by far not groundbreaking lume. However, Invicta has been also consistent for the last few years in delivering quality and well-manufactured product, with a consistent attention to detail and quality control, unapologetically in-your-face Invicta branding that we love to hate, and also, more importantly, with a consistent price tag. So, as far as under $100 Submariner homages go, this Invicta now has quite a compelling proposition in my opinion, and more so now than a few years ago? What do you think? Well, please let us know in the comments. And if you want to see more Rolex Homages reviews, well, then check our playlist over here. And for any other great value watches, don't forget to check our other videos. And if you find this review helpful, don't forget to smash that like button and of course subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching, take care, and I will see you in the next one.